Think about the sheer power of words for a second, how they can, shape history, move people, even challenge
Oh,
empires.
absolutely. And today, we're looking at a really a unique example of it.
We really are. Imagine this. Like, it's the mid-19th century, you're one of the most powerful monarchs on earth, and you get this direct message
Hmm.
from someone who's actually living in exile.
Yeah, it's quite a scenario. We're diving into the Summons of the Lord of Hosts. It's a collection of writings, tablets from Bahá'u'lláh.
Right.
And these weren't like subtle diplomatic notes.
Definitely
They
not.
were addressed straight to the big names of the time: Pope Pius IX, Napoleon III, the Tsar Alexander II, Queen Victoria, Nuruddin Shah in Persia,
Mm.
and also kind of collective messages to rulers in the East and the West.
And what's great for our deep dive today is that we actually have the full texts, or rather the compilation includes the full Súriy-i-Haykal, that's the story of the temple,
Right.
and the Súriy-i-Mulúk, the story of the king. So we can really get into the source material itself.
Which is crucial because, I mean, the core message here is just incredibly bold. You have someone in exile
Yeah.
telling the world's most powerful leaders that a new day of God has dawned.
And that he is the one promised in their own scriptures.
Exactly. It's audacious.
It really is.
Yeah.
And just to set the scene, we're talking mainly about the 1860s.
Primarily, yes. These were revealed mostly in Adrianople, which is in modern Turkey, and then during his first few years of exile in Akká in Ottoman Palestine. So yeah, mid to late 1860s.
A period of huge global shifts anyway.
Oh, definitely. Industrialization, empires jostling, old orders being questioned. It's quite the backdrop for these kinds of pronouncements.
Okay, so let's dive in. We have these incredibly direct letters, these summonses going out to kings and emperors. What are the big themes? What's the core message he's trying to land?
Well, one theme that just comes through again and again is justice, like a really powerful call for justice. He's constantly urging these monarchs, almost pleading with them, to fear God and make sure justice prevails in their lands. And not just, broad strokes justice. He talks about getting down to the tiniest details. There's a line in the Súriy-i-Mulúk, the Súriy of the Kings, where he warns them, beware that ye transgress not the bounds which the Almighty hath fixed.
Right.
Be vigilant that ye may not do injustice to anyone, be it to the extent of a grain of mustard seed.
Wow, a grain of mustard seed. That really paints a picture, doesn't it?
It does. It shows it's not just about laws on paper, but about the actual lived experience of fairness for every single person.
So it's a deep moral responsibility he's laying on them.
Exactly. Tied directly to their right to rule, in his view. And it wasn't just, oh, please be just. There's a real sense of authority behind it. And a definite warning.
A warning about what happens if they don't listen.
Precisely. That ties into another major theme, the temporary nature of their power. He keeps pointing out that all the stuff they value, their kingdoms, their fame, their armies, their wealth, it's all fleeting. It passes.
Which must have been quite something for, say, Queen Victoria or the Tsar to hear.
You'd think so. In an age of seemingly unshakable empires, he's saying basically, your power isn't absolute. It's temporary. And it actually comes from a higher source. And that real lasting glory isn't found in conquering territory, but in, aligning yourself with God's principles and acting justly.
So right at the peak of their worldly influence, he's telling them to look beyond it.
Yeah.
Focus on something spiritual, something lasting. It kind of flips the whole idea of power on its head.
It absolutely does.
How did he connect this message to their own beliefs? Did he try to bridge that gap?
Oh, very much so. That's another key aspect. He constantly talks about the oneness of God.
Right.
And that all the messengers throughout history, Moses, Jesus, Muhammad, they all came from that same single source with an unfolding message. So he presents his own revelation not as something totally alien, but as the next step, the fulfillment of what came before. He actually calls on them to recognize the one promised in the scriptures of their own religions.
So he's using their own holy books, their own traditions, as the starting point.
Exactly. He's saying, look at your own prophecies, the figures you're waiting for. He's essentially claiming to be that figure, whether it's the return of Christ for Christians or the Qiyam for Muslims or figures awaited in other traditions.
That's a really sophisticated strategy, isn't it? It shows he knew their worldviews inside out.
Deeply. But he's using that knowledge to push them towards something bigger, a more unified spiritual understanding.
It's fascinating. Now, you mentioned warnings earlier. Were there specific predictions about what might happen to these rulers?
Yes, the texts and the historical context around them point to specific prophecies. For instance, there was apparently a tablet condemning the Ottoman Sultan, Abdulaziz. Quite directly, that specific one is lost to us now.
Oh, okay.
But the collection we have does include messages to his ministers.
Mm-hmm.
And in those, Baha'u'lláh foretells the chaos that their oppression will cause, including the Sultan losing his throne.
And did that happen?
It did, historically. He was deposed and died under mysterious circumstances not long after. And there are challenges and warnings directed at other rulers, too, like Napoleon III. A sense of consequence runs through these writings.
Consequences tied directly to their actions or inaction.
Yes, very much tied to their conduct, their justice or lack thereof, and their response or lack of response to his message. It wasn't just abstract spiritual advice. It carried, specific weight.
That's quite a claim to make, especially given his circumstances, being imprisoned, exiled.
Absolutely. And that's maybe one of the most powerful aspects of this whole story.
Yeah.
You have to remember what Baha'u'lláh himself was going through.
Right.
He wasn't writing from a palace. He was facing banishment after banishment, prison, immense personal hardship for him and his family.
Yet he's sending these incredibly bold messages to the most powerful people on the planet.
Without wavering. That level of conviction, despite everything, just underscores how important he believed this message was.
It really does paint a picture of incredible faith and purpose. These weren't just letters. They were, like the title says, a summons, a call to engage with a new spiritual reality.
A reality he believes was essential for humanity's future, centered on justice and unity.
And it wasn't just about the rulers themselves, was it? There was a broader critique.
Yes, that's a really important point raised in the introduction to this compilation. It talks about an uncompromising indictment of the conditions of human society.
Okay, so more than just individual ruler.
Right. Baha'u'lláh was basically holding the entire leadership structure, accountable kings, ministers, even religious leaders. He was pointing out the ways their systems, their practices, their divisions were holding humanity back, preventing peace and progress.
So a critique of the whole world order at the time.
A very forceful one, calling out corruption, injustice, blind dogma, the things preventing people from, achieving unity and well-being.
And offering a different vision. All from a prison cell, essentially.
It makes it even more remarkable, doesn't it?
It really does. Okay, so wrapping this up, we've looked at this bold summons from Baha'u'lláh to the world's leaders, calling for justice, unity, recognizing a new spiritual age, warning about the temporary nature of power.
And doing so with incredible conviction despite facing severe persecution.
So the question for you, listening now, is how does this all land today? It's been, 160 years?
Roughly, yeah.
How do these calls for justice, for unity, for leaders to fear God and act rightly, how do they resonate with the world we live in, with the challenges and maybe the opportunities that leaders and, all of us face now?
It's a great question. What can we actually learn from looking back at this summons? Are there enduring principles here that should still guide us?
And think about that uncompromising indictment of society back then. Have those basic conditions, those fundamental issues Baha'u'lláh raised, have they really changed all that much?
It's definitely something to reflect on. It shows how words, driven by deep conviction, can echo across time, still challenging us to look hard at where we are and where we're heading.